Hello everyone and welcome to Lesson 4. In this lesson, we are going to be covering control statements. So, we can go ahead and close Lesson 3 and create a new project called Lesson 4. Alright, and we're going to create a new class, example 4. And this time I'm going to check this box so I can have my main method. I don't have to manually write it. And we're going to write ourselves a program using control statements. So we're going to start. It's going to be int a, b, and c. So we have 3 integer values here, and this is our first time seeing commas like this. Normally we would have written int a, int b, and int c. But we can also do int a, b, and c all in the same line, separated by commas, and it has the same effect as if we were to do this. It's declaring 3 variables of type integer, and it's putting them all on one line, so we do not have to write the word int 3 different times on 3 separate lines. So we've got int a, b, and c. We're going to say a equals 2, and b, we're going to say b equals 3. And now we're going to use a control statement called an if statement. We're going to say if, and we're going to put parentheses after it. If a is less than b, then system dot out dot print line a is less than b. So when you use this little less than operator, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It says less than. And when you do something like this, where you have one value on the left and one value of the right, and they are both number values, Java is going to look at this. It's going to plug in the variables just like before. So it's going to say a equals 2, b equals 3, and then it's going to say 2 is less than 3, so it's going to swap that out and it's going to say true. And then it's going to evaluate this block. It's going to say if this is true, which it is, then we're going to do this. We're going to print this to the console. Now, if we said b is less than a, Java would go through here and plug in the variables. It would say a is 2, b is 3, and that's going to say 2. If 2 is less than 3, well, 2 is not less than 3, so it's going to say false. And then it's going to say if false, okay, this is false, so we are going to ignore this line and we are going to move on. It's the same idea. So we're going to say if a is less than b, then print this to the console. Okay, now the next thing we're going to say is if a is equal to b. If a is equal to b, then we're going to say system.out.println. You won't see this. Okay, why are we saying this? Well, a is equal to 2, so Java's going to come in here, it's going to plug in 2 for that. B is equal to 3, it's going to plug that in. Now Java's going to say, does 2 equal 3? No, it does not. So this is actually false. And because it's false, this is not going to execute. This line right here, line 14, is not going to execute, so this is not going to be printed to the console. So if a equals b, well, it does not, so this is never going to happen. Now, you'll notice that I put 2 equal signs here, and you might ask yourself why. 1 equal sign in Java means it's an assignment operator, which means it's assigning a value to some variable. In this case, we have a variable called a, right? But it's undefined. So up here you can see we declare a, it exists, but it has no value. So we have to give it a value, and that's what 1 equal sign means. 1 equal sign is an assignment operator. It's saying a is equal to 2. It's stating a fact. It's a given. It's an undisputable fact, okay? So it's saying a is equal to 2. That's a fact. Nobody's going to change that. It can change later on, but at this moment in the program, this is a fact. It's a given, and we can't change it at this point in the program. Now, when you have 2 equal sign, it's not an assignment operator. It's a question, or it's a comparison operator. So Java is saying, it's asking a question. It's saying, is the value on the left equal to the value on the right? It's not saying the value on the left is equal to the value on the right. It's saying is with a question mark. Is it equal to the value on the right? So in this case, we got 2 and 3. Java's asking a question. Is 2 equal to 3? No, it's not. So we're not going to execute this. We are going to move on. Okay, let's make our next line. We're going to say system.out. Print line, we're going to print an empty line. using our empty print line statement. Okay. Now we're going to say C equals A minus B. You will recall that we do have this last variable C, which we haven't defined yet. So it's declared, but it's not defined. So we're going to use, again, this assignment operator, not the comparison operator, the assignment operator. And we're going to say C equals A minus B. So Java is going to go in here. It's going to say A is 2, B is 3, and then it's going to say 2 minus 3 is negative 1. And then it's going to say C equals negative 1. And that's how that line works. So A minus B. Now we're going to say system.out print line. And we're going to say C contains negative 1. Now I thought it was interesting that the book does this. It does not actually print the value of C. It just says negative 1. So I'm actually going to change this, and I'm not going to do what it says in the book. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to say plus C, so it prints the actual value of C. And if you recall from our previous lesson, this is string addition here. So Java is going to look at C, it's going to plug it in, so we know that C is negative 1. It's going to plug it in, right? And then it's going to add it to this previous string right here. It's going to go like that. So that is string addition. It's going to take C, evaluate it. It knows that C equals negative 1, and then it's going to turn it into a string type so that it can add it to this previous part and then print it to the console. So that's string addition. Now we're going to say if C is greater than or equal to 0, then we can say system.out print line, not print, system.out print ln. C is a non-negative number. Okay, now we're going to say if C is less than 0, we're going to say system.out print ln. C is negative. Now we're going to print another empty line. And the purpose of printing empty lines like this is to separate things. So you can see right here we got this empty line. It's just to help organize your console so it's legible. This would be a little harder to read, say, if it was all on one line like this. So you put that little empty line there, it just makes it more legible and easier to understand. Okay, and now the last thing we're going to say is we're going to say C equals B minus A. Now, Java's going to come in here, it's going to say, well, B is 3, A is 2, 2 minus 3 is 1, so C equals 1. That's the little process that goes on here when Java gets to line 28. So now C is 1 and not negative 1. Now we're going to say system. Actually, what we're going to do is we're just going to copy this right here, this whole part right here. Let's just copy that. Let's put it in. Oops, I copied the wrong part. Just this part. We don't need the empty line. We're going to copy that and put it here. So it's going to do the exact same thing. It's going to say the value C, right? If it's positive, it's going to say C is a non-negative number. And if it's negative, it's going to say C is a negative number. Now that is the end of example 4. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole okay, that's too small. Zoom out just a bit so we can see the whole program here. Okay, now let's try running it. Okay. And I'm going to move the console over here so it's easier to see in comparison to the code. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, so the first thing we see is A is less than B, which is right here. If A is less than B, so if 2 is less than 3, which it is, A is less than B, so it does print that. Demonstrates how an if operator works. It's going to move on to the next line. If A is equal to B, which is not, you'll notice that that is not displayed. You won't see this. It is not displayed in the console because this is false. Print an empty line. Well, we got that right here. There is a completely empty line between this one and this one. Now we are assigning B a value. We are assigning C a value. We know that C is A minus B, which is negative 1. And you'll see that this line right here, system.out.println, C contains the value of C. Well, it prints it right here. C contains -1. So now we know that C is a negative number indeed. If C is greater than or equal to 0, C is a non-negative number. Well, that does not print in the chat. Sorry, not the chat. That does not print in the console. It says C is negative, which means that C is less than 0. That's what this condition is true. So it's going to print this instead, and we see that right here. Again, we're printing an empty line, so between this line and this line we have an empty space. And now we're going to say C is equal to B minus A. Well, we're going to look at that as we know. It's going to go through here. It's going to say 2 and 3, and that equals 1. So we know that C equals, we know that C equals 1. It's going to print the value of C. C contains that. Well, there we have it. C contains 1, and that is correct. And it's going to do the exact same thing it did up here. It's going to look at the value of C. Is C, which in this case is 1, is 1 greater than or equal to 0? Yes, it is. So it's going to say C is a non-negative number. It's going to move on to the next line and say, is 1 less than 0? Well, 1 is not less than 0, so it's not going to print this line. That is example 3, where we are working with conditional, or I should say control statements. This is a control statement. This is a conditional operator. It's a fancy word that you don't necessarily have to know, but if statement is a statement, it is called a control statement because it controls the flow of the program. It controls it based off of a condition, which is this condition right here, is A less than B. That is a condition, and this is a conditional operator. So we have a lot of different conditional operators we can work with. We have this, which is, well, less than. We have greater than. Spelled that wrong. Greater than. We have this, which is less than. Wow, I cannot type today. Less than or equal to. Then we have this, which is greater than or equal to. Then we have this one, which we saw right here. Oops. We got double equal sign, which we saw right here. This is just equal to. And then we have this one, which is not equal. These are all the conditional operators that Java provides us with. And I spelled greater wrong again. These are all the conditional operators that Java provides us with. These are all the conditional operators we can work with. Less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and not equal. And you will use these all very commonly if you advance any more in any programming language, really. And these are what you can use to manipulate any control statement. So I can say A is less than B. I can say A is greater than B. I can say A is less than or equal to B. I could say A is greater than or equal to B. I can say it's equal, and I can say it's not equal. And all of those will manipulate how this program executes. So you might want to familiarize yourself with these, and of course we will probably be touching on them a lot in the future because they are very, very, very common operators. So you can look at this little comment here. You can pause the video, write it down, whatever you want, and familiarize yourself with these operators, or you can just naturally learn them as we go along, whatever makes you most comfortable. But that, I think, will conclude today's lesson. The next concept is loops, and those can get confusing. So I'm not going to touch on them today. For now, I think we should be happy that we have our control statements, conditional operators, and new number type, double or decimal. These are a sufficient number of things to learn in one day. So this is the end of lesson 4. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.
Hold me, lover. I need you, lover. 'Cause I'm falling